Howdy folks, I'm Brian, and here's some Reddit. Alright, our first story is titled, Am I a Jerk for Expecting to Be Able to Rest? I'm a 34-year-old male and I work all week, around 50 hours. My wife, a 34-year-old female, works around 30 hours a week from home, while also helping with our 2 kids, an 8 male and a 6 male, with their virtual learning. My wife has been fighting a cold and has felt pretty ill recently. I had a really hard week and just wanted some time to decompress. My wife said that she wanted to try and catch up on some rest this weekend. When the kids got up this morning, I woke up my wife to let her deal with them. I slept in today, then started watching a movie. Around 2, I decided I wanted a pizza, so I ordered one for myself. The kids were upset that they didn't get any. My wife looked really annoyed, but I figured the kids were acting up some. Later, I called my wife, and she never answered. I found her outside with the kids. I mentioned that I had called her, and she didn't hear since she was outside. I said I was going to ask her to bring me something since I was trying to relax this weekend. She said she wanted to relax too to try and get over her cold, but I prioritized myself over her. I got annoyed and asked her what that meant. I worked and deserved the rest. She said she worked too, plus schooled the kids, but I apparently didn't think her well-being mattered as much as mine. She was actually sick and couldn't get a break at all because I was being selfish. She told me she wanted to catch up on some rest, but instead I made lazy all day while she dealt with the kids like she always did, as I never gave her time to herself like I expected to get. I got irritated and said, yeah, welcome to parenthood. She got really quiet before standing up, called me a jerk, and went inside. She locked herself in the bedroom, and when I complained, she said, welcome to parenthood, it's about time you started pulling your weight. I ended up ordering dinner. My brother dropped something off for me and noticed my wife wasn't there. I told him what happened, and he said, good for her. If I was too selfish to give her time to herself, she should just take it. I am very angry, and I don't think that I'm a jerk at all here. But my wife won't unlock the door, and my brother seems to think I deserve this? So your wife is not only working through the week, she's also taking care of the kids. And it sounds like while you're only working 50 hours a week, she's probably working more than 50 hours a week between her job and childcare. On top of this, she is sick. And I know you had a rough week, but being sick isn't any fun, and it doesn't really help when you can't catch up on rest. In some ways, you can get away from the caring for the kids, but she can't because she has to deal with them throughout the day. You know what? You could have helped her out a little bit by ordering pizza for the kids too, so that she didn't have to make food for them. Overall, it just sounds like you're being really selfish here and not helping at all around the house. So I really don't think it's fair for you to kind of ditch all childcare responsibilities because you're having a bad week or because you want some downtime, especially when your wife is sick. I think this is something that you two need to kind of talk about and work out, and I definitely think that you should probably figure out some way for both of you to end up with, I guess, weekends or whatnot where you both can be lazy. That way she can get a break and you can get a break. But again, she told you what her expectation was going into this weekend. Even though she wanted rest, you got her up, and then you forced her to take care of the kids while she was sick. Again, relationships are partnerships. They're about working together. And if you can't help your partner when they're sick so that they can recover, then you're not being a good partner. I think that's really what the crux of this is. She's sick, she's not doing well, and you're here foisting all the childcare responsibilities on her because you had a hard week. This does make you a jerk here. You sound very selfish. All I see in this post is me, me, me. You sound like you don't even care about your wife or kids. A grown man acting like he's an entitled 15-year-old brat. Grow up. And here we go. Him working the 50 hours a week. Translation, I work set hours. My wife's on call 24/7. Because the kids are her responsibility, but since I work a set hours and she can't produce a time slip, then I win the battle of who does more work. You're a parent too. Those kids aren't the product of immaculate conception. They're your job when you get home just as much as they are hers. You lazed around while your wife was sick, dropped the kids on her so you could sleep, ordered food only for yourself, and then went back to lazing while your sick wife watches your kids. On the plus side, she could screenshot this and show the judge in the divorce court. This doesn't even sound real. From your own description, your wife worked just as much or more than you according to the virtual schooling this past week. Plus, she's sick, and you can't even help her with anything, and you even ask her to bring you things. You're the jerk, and majorly so. All right. Our next story is titled, Am I a Jerk for Being Disappointed That My Kids Are Boring? I'm a 47-year-old male, and I have 2 kids, a 19-year-old female and a 22-year-old male. They've always been great kids, and now young adults. Both very smart, honor students throughout school, good colleges, hardworking. They're both kind of introverted and have a small group of friends. Anyway, we were having a family night a few days ago, and we were playing Never Have I Ever. And a long story short, I discovered that my kids have never done anything exciting or experimented or things young people are supposed to do. No illicit substances, no one-night stands, no sneaking out of the house, no stealing, no underage parties. My sons have never been to a panty raid, etc. I'm especially disappointed in him because he's a little older and he's a guy. I don't want him to be an addict or anything, but he's never smoked weed or done a line of coke. and he has no desire to. He really doesn't drink much either, except for a light beer here and there. He's never slept around or traded nude pics with his friends or spied on girls in the locker room. Am I wrong to feel a little bummed? I love my son and daughter, and they're wonderful, but I wish they weren't boring kids. I worry that they're going to get old and look back with regret at wasting their youth and not having more fun. I said this to them in joking, and they seemed very irritated by it. My wife said I shouldn't have said anything and that I should be grateful, and I am. I'm just a little sad too. Am I the jerk? Okay, so your son's not a predator and never spied on girls and done any kind of predatory types things towards women, and this disappoints you? I think that that shouldn't disappoint you. I think you should be really proud of him, and I think that this shows that he's a good person. As for using, drugs or whatnot, if he doesn't want to experiment around with that kind of stuff, then he doesn't want to experiment around with it. And I think that that's his preference and his choice. And I think that that's not a problem. I think that each person should be able to live their life in the way that they want to. And I think that you should just be happy and grateful that your kids are well adjusted and doing well in life. So let me get this straight. You're disappointed that your son is not a predator, because spying on the girls' locker room or going to a panty raid is predatory behavior. It's wrong, and sexual harassment is illegal, and it should be. You're the jerk. Woe is me. It is truly the worst tragedy of 2020. I'm not spending the holidays visiting my son in federal prison for a multitude of crimes. Doesn't he know that's what makes a fellow interesting? OP, probably. I wasn't even aware that panty raids were a thing, and I'm actually disgusted right now. That would be so violating, having someone do something like that to you. I mean, I don't know if they actually happen really nowadays. I would guess, hopefully not. You're the jerk. It sounds like your kids are responsible, and telling them that you're disappointed that they're not being jerks is a jerk move. Also, especially disappointed in him because he's a little older and he's a guy. Is really sexist. Our next story is titled, Am I a Jerk for Buying a Pet Lobster? I am a 29 female, and I really love weird exotic pets. Right now, I have a few babies. Honey, Lolo, and Jeannie, 3 female, are my sugar glider. Frank, 1 male, is my hedgehog, and Gloria, 9 male, is my axolot. I've always wanted to open up my own exotic rescue if I had the money to, but that's beside the point. Basically, exotic animals are a huge part of my life and will always be. Please note that I work from home, and I have since I entered the workforce and plan to continue until I retire. I have more than enough time for all of my animals. The sugar gliders especially need love. My boyfriend, we'll call him Brad, a 30-year-old male, and I have been dating for 8 months, and things are starting to get serious. We have not discussed moving in or the future much, but he's a perfect guy in every regard, especially because he loves my animals and he loves me. Last week, I decided to spring on an animal that I've been wanting since college, a lobster. I already had an adequately sized tank and was financially able to add a new pet to my squad. So while searching for fish to add to the existing tank, I found a lobster for sale and purchased one. His name is George, and he is so perfect I could watch him for hours. He is such a good little guy. Brad does not agree with me. Brad hates George. Brad thinks it was a jerk move not to consult him before purchasing George, even though we don't live together and have no intention of moving in together anytime soon. Apparently, if I had asked, he would have said not to buy George because he thinks a lobster is a stupid pet and that it serves no purpose other than to be eaten. He threatened to cook George if I did not return him. Since then, I took away his apartment key and told him off. I asked him not to speak to me or come by my house until I figured out what to do. My mom thinks that I'm an idiot for turning away a perfectly good guy over a lobster. She has always disapproved of me not wanting children and just wanting animals, though I take her opinion with a grain of salt. Some of my friends think that Brad was bordering on abusive behavior, but I feel that is too rash to say. Another one of my friends pointed out that maybe Brad had wanted to move in, but bought George before giving Brad the chance to invite me to move in, so I was really in the wrong. Since today, I have not seen or spoken to Brad, but we are still technically dating. I don't know what to do. Please Reddit, am I the jerk for buying a pet lobster? All of my pets are captive bred, as well as their parents and likely their grandparents. They are not suitable for the wild and are not wild animals. If I release them into their natural habitats, they would not survive. I do not support wild-caught exotic pets and never will. My animals have proper enclosures and are absolutely spoiled rotten. My pets are my babies and I could never do anything but give them the best life possible. So I'm going to say that you're not the jerk here. And I think that this was a really jerky thing for Brad to say. I'm trying to see anything from Brad's perspective here, and I just can't see it. Like, it doesn't seem to me like the lobster is hurting anything. It's not like the lobster is a burden. It's not getting in the way. It's not like it's crawling on the floor and getting on people and pinching them or anything like that. So it's really hard to say why Brad would think that this was such a bad pet. As far as I am aware, a lobster is pretty much just going to hang out in its tank and do lobster stuff. With that said, I think it was really far for him to take this and to say that he was going to cook and eat your pet. I think that that is indicative of behaviors to come, and I don't think that's really a good place for Brad to be. Even if you folks moved in together, I don't see how this lobster would change anything. Also, like, you're not moved in together and you can make your own decisions, and so I don't know why you would have to consult him about getting another pet. So I don't know that I agree with the friend that says that he wanted to move in potentially, but buying a lobster would have prevented this, because it doesn't really seem like that's what would happen. You already have a tank, you already had stuff going on, so it doesn't really seem to add to the space. It's not really, making more clutter. So I guess I'm just really having a hard time seeing why this would be such a problem. So yeah, I think that you're not the jerk here. I think that Brad is being kind of cruel here, and I don't think that he is, being a good person. And I think that you should give this some serious consideration, especially if he's making threats towards your animals. Because if he's making a threat towards this animal, he may be making threats towards other animals in the future. It's really hard to say. So yeah, I'm really not sure what Brad's angle was here, but I definitely think that you're in the right. Not the jerk, and your friends are right. Threatening to kill your pet if you don't get rid of it is abusive. Dump him and continue to be your awesome self. Not the jerk, you watch a lobster live a carefree life, not being eaten as much as you want. Sounds super relaxing. Brad is a jerk for criticizing your new pet so harshly, and with the threat of eating him, barrels towards the sociopathic territory. As long as the upkeep is no trouble for you, you do you. Alright folks, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, consider giving me a thumbs up. If you didn't, consider giving me a thumbs down. Also, if you haven't looked at this whole voting thing yet for the charity stuff, look at my video from last Friday and check that out, because that's what I'm planning on doing there. So just consider voting. So far the winner is looking to be for childhood cancer, because that's the only vote that I have. So if you want to participate in that, just go to that video that I released on Friday and either vote 1, 2, or 3, and you can help decide where $25 goes to. Anyhow, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.